Welcome to The Independent Workforce, the podcast where we explore the now and the future of work through the lens of temporary employment, such as freelancers, contractors, fractional experts, you name it. Here we speak with CEOs, recruiters, founders, and industry leaders about how they work with independent talent, the wins, the challenges, and the lessons learned. My name is Yurii. I'm growing the freelance market at FreelancerMap, an international platform that's been connecting top independent professionals with companies for over 20 years. And my guest is Eusebi Llensa, the co-founder and CEO of the Outvise, the largest online marketplace for business tech experts who, with deep roots in consulting and a passion for startups, stands right at the intersection of business, tech, and the freelance revolution and helps companies drive digital transformation by connecting them with top, flexible, on-demand professionals around the world. So, welcome, Eusebi.
Hi, Yurii. Long introduction there. Thanks a lot for having me in your show, and I hope we can have a very nice conversation.
You have a lot of experience, so that's exactly why this introduction is so long. You know, it's easier when you just start something, then people just call you by name, don't even use your surname. But the more you're in the industry, yeah, you have to get used for that. So let's start. Let's start with the first question. Tell me more about your company and why are you focused on flexible talents?
Okay, brilliant. I'll tell you a little bit of what we do at Outvise and maybe start with a little bit of our history, right? Where we come from. So this is like with people, right? Independent consultants is people, right? So this is a people story. A long time ago, experience, age, we have it, right? So I can say a long time ago, I was working as a management consultant. My colleagues started a consulting firm, which I joined, and I met those colleagues for the first time around 20 years ago. And we always been in touch. Right? After that, we split apart. I went to become a consultant. I went to Dubai. I was in the Middle East for 4 years, and then 3 more years in South Africa. Great experience. I also had a stint in a corporate startup for 3 years back home in Spain. And, once this international experience ended about 11 years ago, I came back to Barcelona, which is my home, and I reconnected with my colleagues. And, we were discussing what to do. It was during the Mobile World Congress, right? Because our thing has always been telecoms. So what should we do? And we were like brainstorming. And I said, you know what, guys, for the last year, I've been working directly for my client. They like me. They like to access the experience and the knowledge directly. It's much more efficient for me and for my client because they don't need to hire a whole bunch of people from a consulting firm. And I see increasingly with the new technologies, experience and expertise it's not necessarily in a company, it's with the people that have done certain projects, right? So I could see my client back in South Africa that they were engaging different professionals, a legal advisor, an IT architect, a management consultant for strategy, right? Like myself. So I bounced this off with my colleagues, Alex, and they were both doing the same thing. They had been doing exactly this for their own personal clients in the UK and in Germany. So we said, hey, you know what? We should build up a network of people that we know, that know a lot about, in this case, telecoms and media. And, work ourselves through our client list and connect these people to our clients. And eventually this can become a huge network and a community. And let's see where this takes us. So we founded Outvise effectively in 2015, 16. And yeah, that was the start. So we realized the value of companies tapping into real experts that have done the same type of work in other places, much more cost efficient, much more effective. And it could explode our assets, which were a network of people we knew and a network of contacts to start with. So that's the beginning, and that's the reason why we started. Then, of course, we found out there's a whole theory or thesis around on-demand talent, right? So things like exponential organizations and you see the gig economy kicking in, which is part of it. So yeah, there's a whole trend that has been evolving for the last years, and a lot of people like you that are informing people and working on this ecosystem, right, to make it stronger, larger, and better known.
I can clearly see why you like that and why your friends and co-founders like that, because like when you are an independent expert, you can bring all your expertise, you can bring expertise from your previous projects to new clients, make things fast. And also you can tell them the truth. If something goes wrong, you can tell them, hey, you're going not in the right direction. Here's how you can do this. Still, clients are afraid of working with such talents. They are afraid that they cannot own you, that they cannot control you fully. How does it work from client side, from your perspective?
Yeah, you're completely right? So there's multiple things there that prevent clients from openly embracing this new way of work, right? An obvious one is regulation, right, and compliance. A lot of countries and a lot of clients are afraid of engaging professionals on a freelancer basis, right? And there's a lot of process complications there. But this is clearing up. I mean, there's a lot of doctors that are freelancers, and there are a lot of lawyers that are freelancers, and there's never been a problem with that, right? So as long as you have a clear idea of the scope of work and how to manage people on a project basis, on a delivery basis, and you follow certain compliance, then it's easy, it's effective, and a lot of companies are doing it more and more, right? So that's one aspect. I think the other aspect is a change in management, right? So a couple of things I see happening in the recent years. One is the introduction of new technologies and the learning curves of these new technologies. So if I say, now everybody's like raving around AI experts, right? But come on, how many experts are AI experts? And those that are, where are they, right? So, I can access a consulting firm, or I can access a company that would do it for me for a price, right? But still the expertise is in the people. So increasingly, we struggle to find providers that are really proficient on certain technologies. The other thing was COVID. As we went all remote and we had our teams, I think we realized, one, that managing large workforces, reduces flexibility. Sometimes you need to adapt to the situation, and it reduces flexibility. Second, under new situations and new projects, you might not have the right people in your organization. So if you want to start hiring, it takes 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to hire people. That's a big thing. And the second big thing is we started working remotely, right? So when you start working remotely, all the tools and the way to manage remote are exactly the kind of tools and the way to manage a freelancer, right? So it becomes more interchangeable. I could be working with a freelance person for a project, an independent consultant for a project. Why could we be working with an employee remotely? So I think these things are definitely changing the picture for all of us.
Yeah, I would say it's a really good point, because I feel like also when the COVID started and people like learned that there is another way of working and that you don't have to always go to the office. Once again, it's not for everyone. Some people have to be there, you can't do the surgery, or you can't go to dentist online. Yes, you have to be in person. And still, if we are talking about the knowledge workers, it's so much easier. And also there was this boom that some people were hired full time and they still had some extra freelance projects on the side because they were sitting at home. They were saving like 2-3 hours of commuting. They were saving like 2-3 hours of just chit chatting with colleagues. Like, okay, I have free time. Why don't I create more projects? Why don't I get more money for myself? So I feel like, yes, to your point, technologies are really helping. And also, let's eat the frog first. You told a little bit about the compliance. So what are 3 main blockers that prevent companies of working with freelance?
Okay, some are internal blockers. Some are process-driven and compliance-driven blockers from within the company, right? Things like, how do you hire talent? Is it an HR thing? Or is it a business thing with consultants, right? Typically consulting goes through procurement under a category called consulting or professional services. And the business, the owner, let's say the head of strategy or the head of M&A or the head of commercial or the head of technology, needs a piece of work. They have a budget for consulting, and it's a path. It's a specific process. But sometimes when you need people for a project or people for longer term, like an interim or 9 months, 12 months, whatever, it's an HR process. And then HR is the lead, no? And HR then chooses which is the right tool to use or the right supplier to use. So there's an issue, there's an internal compliance thing, which means procurement, means bids, RFPs, what type of vendors and suppliers you can have, right? And freelancers, individuals, are not the typical supplier for a company, right? And procurement does not really know how to deal with 10, 15, 20 people, right? So this new breed of companies like ours, platforms that actually connect as a single point of contact and manage a network for you, is a new category. It's a new type of vendor. So that's one thing. The second one is HR. HR is about getting the right talent in your organization and then providing the right value proposition and support to your employees, right? But they've not really thought about the extended talent pool, right? Outside of your employees. So yes, you have your contract, you have your, full-time or part-time contracts with your employees, but freelancers is not something that they really do. Very few companies have enabled that in the HR space. And we find when we talk to HR that more times than less, they are a roadblock, right? They see us maybe like I wouldn't say a threat, but like that we are overstepping their domain, right? Instead of seeing us as a partner or as another vendor to help them source effectively and fast for the talent that they need. And they might need it for a project and they might not need it full time for the rest of your life, right? So these are the two internal blockers, right? Then there's general legislation, which is about employment and job or task-based or project-based employment, right? So what is called the false employment, the fake employments, right? So if you have a freelancer with you for a long time, working exclusively for you, this is undercover employment, right? But if you have people working for a project that might extend or not, but with a clear scope of work, with its independence, right? Then that's another figure. And this legal figure is not properly documented in every single country, and it's not documented the same way. So companies, advisors in the companies, legal departments, HR departments are sometimes very cautious about this. And then there's other hurdles, right? Like tax and social security, right? And then we have another category of hurdles, which is you might be working remote, but we have a lot of cases where we need to be hybrid or on site. And you need to bring someone for 6 months or 3 months for a project somewhere, and you need to procure visas and work permits, right? That again, there are solutions out there. We offer these solutions, but it's a complication, right? So all these things are hurdles that make engaging with freelancers sometimes scary, or it feels like a lot of work. So this is why companies like us exist, to make this really easy.
What is the hardest part? So you were talking about procurement, about compliance, about this internal mindset to kind of like seeing other vendors and companies as competitors. What is the number one, from your perspective, what's the number one blocker on top of minds of clients?
My perspective, the number one blocker that affects us is internal company decision taking, right? So yeah, somebody needs a resource. Here we go all full on, and we find the right resource. There are the interviews. Yes, perfect match. But then maybe HR kicks in and says, "Hey, wait, we cannot do this," or okay, now we need to get the budget approved, or all of a sudden we're reviewing costs. This in the last 2 years, this has been very, very frequent, right? Now we're reviewing budgets. So there's changes in the internal organization. For us, this is number one cause of frustration, right? Because we have a lot of projects there lined up to start, and last minute or last second even, they delay or they cancel. That's from our point of view. From a company point of view, from a client point of view, I believe it's the internal process ease, right? So you need to be registered as a vendor. Yeah, we do this. That's a big hurdle passed, right? Once you're registered as a vendor, then things are much easier. But even then, a request needs to have its process internally and multiple stakeholders. So it's not as easy as engaging with a well-known vanilla type of vendor, right? So I think internally, that's the main hurdle. And from a mindset point of view, we're still working hard to convey the message, right? That independent consultants can do the job and have all the guarantees to deliver the job properly. So things like quality control, assurance of the job done, verification of milestones or timesheets, all that has to be very well explained, and we need to provide the comfort to the business that there's no risk there and they're well covered. They'll get the right person, the person will deliver whatever needs to be delivered, and once it's approved and accepted, then we initiate an invoicing cycle.
I can imagine that if everyone were to be honest, in the moment of negotiations, conversation, and I can imagine your clients are coming to you like, Eusebi, here is one thing we can't deal with. If you can deliver it to us, we are like totally okay to work with you. If there were some conversation, or maybe you had some conversation like that, if there were this conversation, what would be this one thing to take away from this equation to make it easy?
In my experience, once the client has a clear idea of what they need, and that's a challenge, and a clear idea of how much they're willing to pay, we're clear. So what happens many times is that our clients issue a request that is not clear, or they're exploring to understand what type of person might fit for this project, and they're not 100% confirmed in the project and the skill needed. So there's an exploration phase, and they might use interviews with experts or with platforms to finalize the understanding, right, of what they need, and then they might choose to go with the platform or with the expert or not, right? The second one is the price. I think that the mindset of how much value and how much does it cost to bring a freelancer is not always clear, right? A freelancer works for a limited period of time, and all the costs of insurances and social security and taxes, right, are net of that cost, right? So the company typically saves a lot of money and hidden costs of employment, right? But they don't always phase in that benefit into what they're willing to pay. So sometimes we have unrealistic expectations of how the proper consultant wants to be paid and how much they want to be paid, right? So if these two things are clear, if they know exactly what the value is and how much the price is in the market of these kind of people and what they actually know and what they actually need, then problem is solved. We can deliver at that price and we can deliver exactly what they need.
This episode of The Independent Workforce is brought to you by FreelancerMap, the home of freelancing. Whether you are looking to hire top freelance talent fast or a freelancer ready to find your next big project, FreelancerMap connects the right people with the right work. No endless job boards, no guesswork, just direct access to verified experts and opportunities across the globe. Visit freelancermap.com and start building your next success story today. I feel like that's exactly where the challenge is, because not everyone knows everything, and it's always about the conversation, it's always about discovering, it's always about like talking and finding out, because when you go once through this process, it's easier to go for the second time. That's exactly what stops many people to make this decision, because like, oh my God, I have no idea how to deal with this. I have no idea how to start hiring a freelancer. I don't want really to even jump in this because it looks so hard. So from your perspective, how this process looks like? If someone wants to start working as freelancers, what are like first, second, third step, what they have to do to hire a freelancer?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer. I believe your question is about the client side, right?
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
Okay. So look, there's one thing I wanted to highlight based on what we've said so far, and this is our belief, our thesis on Outvise. Outvise is a highly specialized platform, and there are others with different types of specialization, right? We just focus on what we call business tech. which is high value tech experts that can manage. We have around 25, 30 roles mapped in our platform around people that are related to tech heavy industries or are dealing or can deal with tech transformation in a company, right? Now, that's specialization. And the other thing is, in our case, specialization, high value, plus account management. So all these questions, all these doubts, for me, it's very useful to have someone that knows about the topic to talk to. So if one of our clients, let's say a CTO, wants to discuss a profile, okay, I'm doing this type of project. I'm relaunching an OSS or a BSS in my platform. I'm moving to the cloud. These are the challenges. This is the size of the project. And I can have this conversation, or an account manager can have this conversation with the CTO if required, right? Together, we can make sure that we understand each other, what the pain point is and what the need is, right? And we can also frame a range of costs. Does it make sense? Because if it doesn't make sense, we need to look for alternatives, right? So that conversation that is only possible with a higher level of specialization, for me, is number one. You need that, right? If you're hiring vanilla consultants and I just want designers or not UI UX, but graphic designers, and then yes, you send me your pitch books, and I'll choose the one I like based on the price and what I like, right? But when you're looking at consulting projects, high-level consulting projects, it's much more than that, right? It's the chemistry, the soft skills, the complexity of the project, the hard skills that they need to know, right? So I would say that initial phase, that initial interaction is key. Then, of course, talking to someone like us, a specialized platform, what it means is via our portal, more or less self-service. If they post self-service, we always reach out with an account manager to validate and understand better the opportunity. Or because they've spoken to an account manager, right? We post the opportunity, and what happens then is that through our network, we have matching algorithms that are fine-tuned to the business tech profiles, right? So we shoot out and reach out to the relevant part of our network. In 48 hours, we already have people that we believe fit the profile. They've maybe answered, and we've done some screening, answered questions, and we had the basic screening or the initial screening, and we are in line with the price. Our platform has a tool to negotiate prices, right? So we typically bring down prices around 25% in most of the opportunities. If people just bid too high, we tell them, hey, guy, you're bidding too high. We recommend you to lower, right? So that happens. In 48 hours, you start receiving CVs. And then we organize interviews. And it's as easy as, if you have a good match, then we just issue agreement with you, the client, and an agreement with the expert, back to back, and we start the process, right? It's pretty easy, and it's assisted by humans, right? In our case, other platforms are more generic, more open, and then you might post a position and people apply. There's no filter, there's no screening. So instead of receiving 10, 15, 20, 30 CVs or requests, we only provide 2 or 3. If you need something different or something extra, we request for feedback, and we might deliver 1 or 2 more, right? But it's really efficient in that way, surgical, very, very targeted.
I read the books about how people make decisions, and when they have it was an experiment that they were selling jam, and there were like a stand with like 6 different types, and there were a stand with 26. And people who had to taste only 6, like some of the 6, first of all, it was easier to decide what to taste, and they bought more. Then when they went to this 26, they were like, it's such a huge, I don't know what to choose. And they left just without buying anything. So I feel like it's very, very similar approach, because you are really listening to a client, what they need, and then you give them what they need. Not what, like just a number, but specific people. And coming back to your screening process, how do you find and select freelancers for your clients?
Okay, well, first of all, again, I want to insist in the concept of specialization, right? We are highly focused on those roles. Our main vertical is telecom media. We are adding fintech, we're adding oil and gas, we're adding insurance, But we have certain areas of specialization, and the team in the house and our software, which is part of the team, has been evolving and revolving around some key concepts, key words, key technologies, right? We have metadata for our experts that is very precise on the roles we master, right? So how does the screening go? So people register on our platform, and typically around 250 people register every month. Our first screen is welcome. You register, someone checks, we have an algorithm that says yes or no, and then someone checks yes or no, and then we accept people that are relevant to our roles and our platform. The people that are not, we park. Second point, once they're accepted, there's a whole process to enrich the profile, obviously, and this is pretty standard, right? So you have the CV, you have skills, you have projects, similar process you've done in the past, you have references to share with us. So you start completing all this report. And you're part of the network. Now, when we have an opportunity, we shoot out automatically, we reach out to people that match. Now, what does match mean for us? We have multiple components in that match. We have obviously CV skills match. We have past project match. We have past project feedback from our clients or references obtained. All this ranks people in terms of who we are more confident with, right? Those people can be self-applied. 30% of the people we propose are self-applied because of all this intelligence in the platform. The rest, we have an operations team. The operations teams review applications. We might miss someone, right? And look out for people outside the network. Our coverage ratio, which is basically, when the people we propose, were they in our network before, yes or no? So around 60% of the people we propose come from our network already, but 40% are added, right? So there's people and there's platform intelligence that add these people and screen. Now, once we're comfortable that certain people match good enough to propose, what we do is we run a technical interview, right? So we have a whole system of job role specific scouts that have a 10-15 minutes interview, right? These scouts could be external to the organization, like freelancers, pre-selected freelancers, or internal, like some of our team, our experts, all have a lot of experience in certain areas. So once we have the confidence of past projects or past client feedback, and if not, of a scout interview, only then we submit. And then what the client receives an email with a link. They click on the link, you see the expert's profile with a lot of information, CV, past projects, specific comments that the expert wants to put forward, past projects that relate to the engagement the expert is bidding for, price, the possibility to chat with the expert, and then you can choose to interview. So in addition to all that screening, there's the interview phase, obviously, right? And once we've done the interviews, and if needed, we collect additional references, we're ready to go.
It sounds like you're doing for like 80 to 90% of all the hiring process. So I'm curious, what part is left for client side?
Well, folk, enjoy the ride. Basically, clients just they need to have a clear idea of what they need. That's the client's job. We can assist, but that's the client's job. They need to have the budget and a reasonable or feasible budget, right? And there's a pretty flexible range of budgets there we can manage, right? But still, you need to have that. So that kicks off the process. Now, once we've submitted 2 or 3 candidates, which is easy for the client, you just have 2 or 3, right? What the client needs to do is ideally provide feedback. If they don't like a profile or a profile is missing something, the thing we miss the most is proper feedback from the clients, right? Once they've done the interviews, for those that do fit, then we might be ready to go, or we might need additional feedback because something is missing. Feedback for me is what I would ask, please, clients, provide the feedback, because if you give the feedback, we're going to do a job much better, right? After that, It's just onboarding the expert, and we assist in onboarding, but in the end, onboarding is a client's duty, right? And on a monthly basis, review of work done and approval of timesheets or deliverables. That's all they need to do. And obviously, manage the project, right? One other thing I forgot to mention in the screening process that can assist clients, sometimes clients have doubts. I'm not sure if I need this or if I need that, right? So what we do with our community of experts, we set up free workshops. Hey, look, you want to review your NOC, your network operating center that you have placed in country X. And it's not optimal, right? And you want to review your technology stack for that NOC and include lots of automation, but you've not done that before, right? So let me put you in touch with a couple of experts that have done that before, and just have an open conversation. Ask the questions, get your comfort zone, understand how long this takes, what kind of technologies you need, what's the level of maturity in your organization to do this, what is the typical exercise looking like in terms of steps. The client many times learns a lot by these conversations. Not only learns a lot, which helps us find the right expert, but they already start maybe finding the right expert in that conversation. Okay, man, I really like what you're telling me. I like your experience and I like your chemistry. Why don't you give it a shot? And that happens. So this is something else we can do because we're highly specialized, and our experts are able to lend for free some of their time for clients as to support them, because that's in the nature of a consultant, to support your clients and do business development at the same time. So yeah, I mean, a client needs to do lots of things, but yeah, we do a lot of things for them too.
Sounds like a hackathon, but I'm also curious, how do you encourage your network, your experts to do it for free?
Well, I mean, look, this is teamwork, right? I mean, if you talk to experts, typically the biggest challenge an expert has is selling, is managing a network of contacts, generating new opportunities, right? In a consulting firm, if you know people in management consulting, you start as an analyst and you grow your ranks, right? And you love your job, you learn so much, you're delivering, you're helping your client, you're doing interesting projects, right? As you progress, that becomes less, and you become more a client manager and a salesperson. At that point, not everybody's fit to do that. And a lot of people leave the consulting firm because they're more into the delivery and the solutioning than the actually selling, right? And this, I think, is a common trait for a lot of experts. So when I say we work as a team, is they put in the expertise, we do the selling. Now, let us help you get in touch with what you need, clients. And the only person that is capable to sell what you do better than anyone is you, right? So I'm not asking you to have a sales pitch. I'm just asking you to demonstrate how good you are at your job and how much value your knowledge and experience can bring. So we do the selling. We set up the scene. We provide a meeting with a client for 1 hour, let's say. We might even highlight key topics to be discussed, and then the show is yours. And if you do it well, you'll have a project. So we don't have a problem finding experts willing to do that.
It's like a double date, when the pair is like bringing friends and then are like making friends to meet each other in like this intimate setting of restaurant, of cafe. And you told that you have a coverage of 60%, and then you still have to find 40 other percent. So I'm curious, what networks or platform do you use for that?
Okay, so our technology, first of all, we have a core layer of proprietary technology, which is what manages the network and does the automations and the matchings and the ATS flow, right? We use HubSpot for managing clients and partners and all our commercial actions, right? Which is integrated in a way with our platform. And then obviously we use multiple sources outside our platform, right? So we have structured networks. For example, freelancermap is one of them, right? We use them. And there's a subscription, and if you need an expert, we post it there and we get experts, and then we do our screening process in parallel, right? Obviously, we use LinkedIn, right? As you build your network of connections in LinkedIn, which is highly specialized in business tech in certain verticals, you know how it works, right? The more connections you have, the more people you can reach, right? So this is a competitive advantage. We have in our company a lot of connections in certain topics, right? So we do that. And we also use other platforms, so like Xing in Germany and other platforms across the world. But then a lot of the people that come from other expert references, right? So when we post an opportunity or we reach out to experts, we have what we call a member get member program. And there's a technology link, so they can refer to someone. This someone comes, we can track who referred to whom. This is in our network, and whenever they get proposed or they get interviewed or they get the project, there's a referral compensation. And the third thing we have to complete with our internal operations or recruiting team, we have a network of freelance recruiters, and we have a very cool gamified proposition for them where, hey, bring us CVs and we're going to pay you for good CVs. We're going to pay you extra for good CVs that get proposed. We're going to pay you extra for good CVs get interviewed, and we're going to pay you a fee or a share of the business obtained. And this is working for us.
Also, I understand you were talking multiple times about the technology, about the mechanism, about the matchmaking part, and most likely, I have no idea, but most likely you use some kind of AI. So I'm curious how AI is changing or maybe already changed your approach to freelance selection and management.
Okay, so we're using AI obviously in the sales side. So we are boosting and multiplying our outbound capabilities through AI and social media capabilities. When it comes to delivery of expertise, right, our algorithms are using AI, first of all, to translate client requirements that are written and enrich those requirements with additional information to provide a proper job description. That's number one. Second of all, we're using AI to, some people apply to an opportunity, but not always the match is 100% or 70% in our criteria, right? We use AI to sift through that and to provide the negatives, the rejections, right? And to explain why a rejection has been a rejection to the expert, right? The next step is not just the rejections, but select the good ones and send them straight to the client, right? But we are getting there. So that's how AI is used in our platform today. In addition to this, our matching algorithm uses all our history and experience, right, and uses AI to rank the matchings, right? And those matchings then are sorted in a folder, put it this way, a virtual folder, right? And then the top ones can be proposed directly. Today is not 100% yet automatic, but we have someone that checks, go. So this is how we're using AI so far. We have other ideas, but the ideas need to come with time and funding. So we're thinking about that.
And it's also about the testing and like finding what are the best ways to deal with it. So I can totally get it. And we're talking a lot about these barriers to the collaboration of clients and freelancers, like what prevents them. And I'm curious, if you could remove just one barrier to make this freelance collaboration really, really smooth, what would it be?
From a world point of view, free trade. Right, and get a freelancer from any part of the world and place the right person in your project. So today we still have cultural barriers for that. We still have political barriers for that, and red tape barriers for that. So some countries do not accept people from certain other countries. There is still stigma in certain places on certain origins and nationalities, right? Instead of just assessing people for what they are, right? That's for me probably the barrier number one. Then there's also a trust component, right? Unfortunately, not everything that is on a CV is true, right? And or relevant, right? So I always struggle when I see experts that can do a job, and I check the CV and the profile, and that experience is 60 years ago in one project, right? It's like, guys, you're competing worldwide, and If you need to do, I don't know, a Salesforce implementation and a change management in an organization that has 300 people or 1,000 people, right? I want to see 1, 2, 3 projects similar to that. Not one similar project a long time ago, right? So sometimes experts oversell and they can do everything. And we have these experts that just apply to everything because they can do everything. And it's frustrating because we don't like to say no. And I think not everybody has the same perception of skills required and expertise required. So having this specialized platform like us that is able to screen and filter, I think is very useful. So yeah, maybe these 2 things.
Eusebi, I wish to have the sky as the limit when you've already gave a big advice. And still, what short advice would you give to a company considering hiring freelancers for the first time?
Reach out to Outvise. And if your project is about tech transformation, just talk to us and we'll solve all your questions and provide the right expertise.
And if it's from another sphere, what should they do?
From another sphere, then of course there are other platforms. It depends on the topic, right? I personally recommend specialized platforms. So do a little bit of research. There are people working to map the ecosystem of independent consultants and independent platforms. And I suggest, get your procurement team, reach out to some of these platforms, get them in your portfolio and start exploring with them how to work.
I know at least one person is Matthew Mottola from Human Cloud. So definitely go ask him. He knows what he's talking about. And
Matt just released his map version 2. It's amazing the content that is in there. The ecosystem is mapped. Just go check out Matt's stuff and look into those logos, look into those players, or talk to him. He will also give you good advice.
And last but not least, name 2 people I should reach out to talk about the independent workforce.
Talk to the people from Kibrati. It's a small boutique specialized also in the Middle East. We have a good relationship with them. And talk to the guys from Malt. They're from Europe. They're huge. They're done really well, and I think it's worthwhile talking to them. They have a good.
Got it. Eusebi, thank you so much for this conversation. I still have many questions, and I really wish to have the sky as the limit to this conversation, because I still every time you gave an answer, I was like, I want to go there. And then I'm looking on the time. We can't go there because it's always, I feel like it's definitely not the last conversation, just the first conversation. You still have much more experience to share. And let's make this independent, flexible talent market grow together.
Absolutely, Yurii. Thanks a lot for your time. And whatever you need, we're here to help.
And see you in the freelance world. And for listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Independent Workforce. I hope you've taken one step closer to working smarter with freelance talent. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to learn even more and share it with your colleague. And remember, the future of work is now.